And it is 10 o'clock, right?
Yes,
Yes.
10:01.
10:01.
Yes, it is. Mhm.
Okay, super. Okay. Okay, so let's do it one more time. Now for the recording, what was the frustration of doing these exercises?
Having the correct materials, not having a good feel for flash.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my all thumbs with flash was my big drawback.
Okay.
Not having enough light. You said on the colored bubbles,
Uh-huh.
do not go by the window, use your flash. Kathy, I couldn't do any of those. I did mine on my window.
Okay.
And my window just happened to be, there are no big bright sun rays. It is covered by the oak trees.
Uh-huh.
And so I said, well, okay, this is it.
Yeah. Yeah. And then
So-
it was nice, so maybe nice overcast light as well.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
So, but I don't like artificial light. I can't make it work for me.
Okay. Lexi and Christina were talking about frustrations in this assignment. What frustration did you find, Lexi? None? Pretty easy? Okay. Christina, did you attempt it? She's muted. Okay. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and begin. And by the way, this is the type of thing that we do in the creative workshop. And I do that in Rockport, Texas this year in December. And this is the type of stuff that we do at the creative workshop. And it's a 3-day program, and it gives us a chance to all work together on these things. But if you like doing this kind of crazy stuff, this is what we're doing in the creative workshop. It's at the Art Center in Rockport. Good birds down there, Lynette, if Harvey wants to join you. And then
I wanted to join you in December, but the timing and things that we were doing,
Yeah.
it wasn't going to work. So
Yeah.
maybe in December. I saw
Yeah.
that you have another one in December.
yeah,
Have you posted that on your website, Kathy?
I think it's on my website. Uh-huh.
Okay,
Yeah.
because that sounds really like a lot of fun.
I'll make a note to see if I've got it on my website.
That
I
sounds
think that's
fun.
where I
I-
saw it, Kathy.
I think it is. It's if the first week of December or something like
Uh-huh.
that. Yeah.
Mhm. I'll make sure it's posted on there. And it's through the Art Center, and they have this brand new building. So it's really a cool place. Okay, so we're going to start. Lexi, unmute because I'm starting with you today. There you go. Okay, so here's your water, your food coloring, right?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, just do it.
Alright.
Bring the micro. There you go. Now we can hear you. Okay. So here's your food coloring and your water.
Mhm.
And then this next one, Lexi, I think is absolutely great. It's
It looks
just,
a little bit like a mushroom from one spot to me.
it does. It almost looks like, an abstract art from the 60s.
Mhm.
And did you by any chance use the gel food coloring, Lexi?
No, we use liquid.
It's the
Mhm.
liquid? Okay, because that liquid's holding pretty solid. So it's looking pretty good. But I love that. I think it's got a really great look to it. And you focused on it, so it's good. And is this purple or is it black?
It's purple. It's just it's all concentrated like that. It looks very dark.
It does. I like the edge on it that's purple though. So I think it's a really great photo. So, and that's what we're trying to do is create good photos. Yeah. And there's your swirly colors.
Mhm.
Yeah. And once again, really nice and pretty. And you got some good definition right up in this area right
Mhm.
here. It looks like that's keeping the camera flat to the film plane because this top area got out of focus, but the
Mhm.
bottom area is in real nice focus. And then here's your splash. You got the splash to work.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah. And this
That's
is
pretty.
looking down on it. Next time you do it, look straight
Yeah.
across. Yeah. And then here's your flash again. You did it. I mean, your splash again. You did a good job on that one. Was it challenging? Hey, Christina, how are you? Was it challenging, Lexi, to do these splashes?
I'm not really sure. One of the attempts at it, I accidentally got a bunch of pictures of water being perfectly still.
Yep, yep,
Mhm.
yep. Yeah, you get a lot of pictures of the water being perfectly still. Exactly.
Mhm.
So good job. Very, very good job. I like that. I really like that black and purple one, black and white one. That one's really nice. Super. Okay. Lynette. Oh, I didn't see your little balls down here.
It's colored glass.
Yeah, yeah,
They-
yeah. I didn't see
yeah.
that the first time around. So what'd you do here?
I was outside. I put the orangey color first, and I got too slow or whatever, and so so the color got kind of solid,
Uh-huh.
and so I dropped. I think it was whatever color it was, the blue. I took the photo on the side instead of looking down
Uh-huh.
because I guess I couldn't catch the food color going down. So I went on the side. I don't know
Yeah.
if that's what I
Well,
was
that's-
supposed to be doing,
that's what
but
you
I
were
saw the
supposed to do.
color.
Yeah.
So, but I like the colors. So I said, okay,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's got good color to it. And then here's your oil.
this flustered me so much because like I said, I couldn't see I know there were bubbles there looking at it, but putting my camera on top of the bowl, I couldn't define where those bubbles are. So I splashed some colors in there and I said, hey, they're there. So that's what I come up with.
And what kind of oil did you use?
Olive oil?
Olive oil? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. We'll do comparisons on different oils that you all used. Yeah. And then here's your bubbles with the dawn. I love this one.
That's pretty.
Yeah.
You know, I mix an eighth of water, an eighth of Dawn, but I only put like a tablespoon of glycerol
Uh-huh.
and use when I was looking at your, oh, he said 2. But I already had that and I liked it. And like I said, I did this by the window.
Uh-huh.
I didn't have any
Mhm.
flash, but I liked it. So
Yeah. And then you did what I encouraged you not to do, which was blow a lot of bubbles. But yet here you've got this photo of a lot of bubbles and I love it. So,
oh,
yeah, I just think it's beautiful. It looks really nice. And there's lots of stuff to look at in it, which makes it a good photograph. Yeah. So good job. And then your container for the bubbles.
I couldn't find a little black thing, but I use one of those Lodge, but it's a little one about maybe 3 inches across. And I use it for making brownies or what,
Oh, okay.
individual brownies.
Yeah.
But it's black and that's what I used.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, it's pretty. Looks good.
And it worked.
Uh-huh. It worked. Exactly. That's what's important about it. It worked. And then here's your smoke.
I love the smoke, but I couldn't get, somehow I felt like there was always, why does it look like that when I'm processing this and that? Anyway, so I'm curious to see how you process the others.
Yeah. And then here's what I did to it.
That's much nicer. of
And then,
course.
and then what that is it's a whole lot of contrast. It's a whole lot of texture, whole lot of clarity, whole lot of dehaze.
Did you?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's just a really aggressive processing. And then
Okay.
on yours, because you've got that black background, this is a black background, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So the light meter is saying, oh, that's so dark, I need to brighten it up. So you should have underexposed on that black background. And then you would have got more of a black background.
It was underexposed, Kathy.
It is underexposed? Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
thought I was over.
Were you? Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, that's what I did to make it more pronounced.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I noticed at the very last minute that I didn't crop like you did. So yesterday I asked Lynette if she would send me her raw files so that I could process them. And then here's your smoke against the purple background. It's very
Yeah.
pretty. Look at that. That's got some really neat different shapes and patterns in it. And then here, once again, just process the hell out of it. Yeah. Just
Okay.
like,
Okay.
yeah, just
Because
aggressive.
I wasn't that aggressive with my processing.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
Did you
it
do
take-
that outside?
No, inside.
Okay, by your window?
No, this one I used my flash and I bought a LumCube.
Yeah.
And it was frustrating me as the other one that frustrates me about this is, okay, I put my light on the side, the flash on the side, I put the LumCube on the side, I moved it around anyway, but this was the best I could do. So,
Mhm.
okay,
Mhm.
I understand. You have to process it,
Yeah.
just be more aggressive in processing. I was being timid.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
And then don't let it be close to the background because you don't want any light to fall on the background.
No, I had
Yeah.
it maybe about a foot
Okay. Could have
or
even gone a
maybe
little
8 inches
further.
somewhere
Yeah.
there.
Could have gone even further than that.
Oh, okay.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And Marty, you asked if this was done outside. If you take the incense outside, the wind
It'll
just,
blow.
it blows it away. And so it never forms that straight up and down smoke.
And one
Did you
thing
turn off your
about
air conditioner?
my air conditioning is set to certain pretty hot, so it doesn't blow very often. But I noticed, because it wasn't blowing, it would be nice when you just lighted the incense, and then it would just, smoke goes straight out. So what I do is I move, get my holder and move it around, and then it starts swirling again.
Hmm.
Then I just go,
Yeah.
shoot.
But if you move, the smoke starts moving all over the place. And
Yes, and I
so-
have a lot of those too.
yeah, and nothing happens. But this has got some really cool little movement in it right there. Yeah.
But I love doing Kathy. It's just frustrating to put where to put my light, just so
Uh-huh.
I could, and the process.
Yep.
Now I understand what you're doing with your processing. So
Yep.
okay.
Just heavy handed.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, Marty, here's your water. And what kind of oil did you use?
It was olive oil.
Olive oil?
And then I had a piece of yellow paper and blue paper next to each other.
Mm,
I know those are air bubbles, but I thought they were pretty.
yeah.
So I
Yeah.
was trying to not to have all those, but I thought I liked them.
Yeah. And Marty, did you find any trouble focusing on the bubbles themselves?
No, I did not.
Good. This is another one where you can see the cameras maybe not totally flat to the film plane because this little area is out of focus, but this little area down in here is really good.
Well, I definitely cropped this.
Yeah.
you know,
Okay.
To
Yeah.
get it into a more of an organized look.
And you have to on these, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. You've
Because
got
I like that, the groups of the small,
Uh-huh.
yeah, I thought that was interesting.
Yeah. Looks like little planets.
Mhm.
I love it. I think it's beautiful. And I love your background. I think your background is really clever. Is it pastel yellow and pastel blue paper, Marty?
It's pastel
Okay.
yellow, and then the blue was like blue construction paper.
Okay. It's beautiful. Any questions, anybody on this one? And then here's your other one.
So this is the same setup, only with the blue and the pink construction paper.
Mhm. And you
How
see
did-
what, you see
I
what
was gonna
happened.
ask how the lights were shining up through those bubbles there now. How did you do that?
I don't know. That's just the way we did it. I thought it was
okay.
just air and I couldn't get them to go away and just be oil. So
Oh.
I thought it looked real sparkly.
Uh-huh.
Yes, pretty, yeah.
And
I
are you
couldn't get it to
using,
be like just globes with none of that in it. It was just the air bubbles that were in it.
are
And
you using,
I didn't whip it around or anything. I
Uh-huh.
was just like, why is that? But I liked it.
yeah. When you
This
put
was
the
in my
oil,
measuring cup.
okay.
Unfortunately, you can see the sides of the cup, but.
Mhm. And is it a lume cube or a continuous light, or is it just a
natural.
natural light? Very pretty. And then with the oil and water, if when you put the oil in the water, if you do any mixing, you get those air bubbles. And so when you put your oil in the water, if you just kind of gently pour it and then maybe use a toothpick or a skewer to move it around. But if you emulsify it at all, then it takes, especially with olive oil, it just takes a long time, because that's what we use olive oil for, is to emulsify.
Yeah.
It's very pretty though. I like it. And there's your bubbles. You hit it out of the park on the bubbles.
Oh, thanks. I struggled with this for days, 2 days. But my question for you was, I used natural light because I tried the dark and all that. So I used my big window again, but I would only get half of the bubble. And I have a picture down here that had the colors on it. The third one, that one's worked okay.
Yeah.
This is the one. This is what I saw the most of with the black.
Uh-huh.
Like half of it would be colored and the other part would be black. And I blew as slow as I possibly could, and I would still get 3 or 4 bubbles.
Yeah.
So I wasn't sure if I needed to change the light to prevent that black. from
That's
coming.
your room.
That's my room.
Yeah.
Reflection of my room. Well, get this. I was going to put it in and I forgot. I got one of these bubble pictures has my dog's head in it. She was laying by my foot and she's like a little Maltese. And
Uh-huh.
it was her. I said, that looks like the dog. It was in the bubble. It
Yep.
was hilarious.
Yep. Yep. But I love this. You know, it's like little amoebas or something.
Yeah.
It's just so cool. And then I love this. I think you did a darn good job on this.
Great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
A little
But-
bit bubbly up at the top, but
Uh-huh.
um,
Yeah, you did it. You did it.
Great.
And this one, if you wouldn't have told me what that was, then I wouldn't have known. But now that I can see it, I can see like the maybe the ceiling and the wall right there that's reflecting. And then here apparently is your window. But overall, as a photograph, I think it's really an interesting photograph.
oh, good.
I like this one being out of focus and then this little one down here. So, you know, as a photograph, I think it's a perfectly good standalone photograph. Yeah. Yeah, it's very nice. You did a good job on that one. And your formula, was it the same as what I gave you?
I did both of them. I did the one off your blog, which was a little different than
Mhm.
your,
Yeah.
it didn't have any water in it.
Yeah. Is it easier with water or without water?
I couldn't tell any difference. I was still
Okay.
having trouble isolating just to one bubble and I was blowing as slow as I possibly
Okay.
could.
Yeah.
But I want to keep practicing because I think it's just beautiful.
Yeah, I think it's gorgeous. It's very, very pretty. Yeah, it's a really nice image.
This is my water. And the thing I learned with this is I don't have anything that's a rectangle. Everything is circular. So again, I went shopping. Nobody has any rectangle containers. So I'm going to be on the lookout for that. But this was, I needed to back up and it was too short, too small. It was maybe 12, 14 inches tall. It's a plastic container. And the edges are a little bit curved. I couldn't find a straight rectangular container, but I need to get it a taller one.
And then you notice on this one, if we just make it more white. There you go. I'm just doing a little bit. There we go. No dehaze, because that just brings out the shadows we just took away. But if you just kind of play with the whites a little bit, then it brings it out.
Mhm.
But then this one, it looks like it is a rectangular.
Well, it's got rounded sides. I backed up because I realized that I needed to get the whole container. So I was
Mhm.
trying to. And also several of these, I did not fill it all the way up to the top, and I felt like that was distracting. So I tried to fill this up fuller.
So it's just a simple crop. Undo that.
So are we not supposed to see the container?
Well, that's just depending on you.
Yeah, because I didn't really care. I think
Yeah.
that's great. I like stuff like that.
Yeah, because then people can't really tell what it is.
I wasn't sure if the container was supposed to be part of the whole.
Mm-mm, mm-mm.
Oh,
no.
okay.
But
Okay.
what you had looked like one of those plastic pantry storage containers.
It is.
Yeah, which is probably perfectly fine. Yeah. I like it. I like the shape and the pattern. I love the flow of the food coloring. I think it's pretty.
It was fun.
Yeah. And then let me see this. Oh, this is Sarah. Sarah can't be here. She's got Rich going into the operating room this morning for his eyes. And so I just told her that she said, I'm going to do my homework no matter what though. So this is Sarah's. And here's her blue and yellow, and then gets that green swirl. It almost looks exactly like the one that I showed you all that I did. And then here it is
Nice.
again. And once again on this one, Sarah, if you just bring out your whites, there you go. Now we just kind of get rid of, now we just emphasize on the colors there, and then throw in a little contrast. And then here's her red and blue. I love the swirls here. It's almost like two dancers.
Mhm.
So I think she's got a great swirl going on there. And once again, I'm just going to brighten it up just a tiny bit and add some contrast to it. But this right in here just looks amazing. So I like that one. And then here is Sarah's bubble. So she's got a nice black background. She's got a nice, nice black all the way around it. So it really does look like space, doesn't it?
Mhm.
Yeah. And the air conditioning vent. So,
Yeah.
so we could do a simple healing brush on that air conditioning vent issue. And let's see. It didn't like it so much. Where's the overlay? Oh, it went to the black. Yeah, just. There we go. There, air conditioner vent's gone. Might have to work on it a little bit more, but it's gone. Good job. But I think it's a really pretty bubble.
Mhm.
Very pretty bubble. And then here's another one. So once again, I think it's a really, really, really nice bubble on that one. And then here's her oil and water.
Love the colors.
Yeah. The colors are really neat. And looks to me like maybe a scarf or a blouse as a background. And there's a lot of bubbles in there. And then here's her splash.
Oh, that's cool.
Pretty.
And I'll have to get, this is our fourth lesson, but I'll ask Sarah to send instructions on what she did. Because if you notice in the reflection of the drop, the edges are round,
Mhm.
but here they're streaked. And so I think that she has streaked them. So they're going straight out. So I'll ask her to send instructions on how she did that one. But I love that. I think it's really pretty.
Mhm.
And then we were talking about pie plates. Now, can you see how many times Sarah has used this pie plate?
Yes.
Can you see all the cut marks? So yeah, it's a well-used pie plate, very well-used pie plate.
It goes with the design.
Yeah. But then her splash, now that I'm looking at the second splash, this splash goes out in streaks also. So it could be the shutter speed that's being used. So we'll have to ask on that one. Shutter speed, it's 200th of a second shutter speed, 200th of a second shutter speed. So it could be the flash that's being used. And then there's another nice one. Here's the logo of the pie plate right there. But that's a nice splash. And then I like this one a lot.
Mhm.
So Sarah, you did a good job on that one. And then this one, Susan, these are yours.
Yes.
Yeah.
I got my my daughter who's visiting me this week to help me drop this in the vase, and so I just stood behind the camera and shot away.
Good.
And this was the one that I liked the best.
And then this one too, we can, it depends on whether you want that background to be light or whether you want it to be more yellow. You can
Yeah,
have,
I
you
mean,
can go either way.
either way, yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah. I
Yeah.
like the shape that the colors took.
Yeah. I love these little drops and things.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very pretty. Really nice. Now here's your bubble. Woo!
Pretty.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
I have a whole bunch of photos like that. These swirls were moving around so fast. I had to slightly under expose in order to get the shutter speed up high enough so that it would so that these swirls would not be blurred.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to get them right in focus, and
Yeah.
in order to do that, it was kind of hard. But you know what, Kathy, you know what I did?
Huh.
You know that tent that we neither one of us
Yes.
used. I
Yes.
pulled that out, and
Okay.
I put this in there, and that's how I control the light.
Okay. That
Yeah.
little gauzy tint that we were talking about last lesson.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
And then I used lights, on the side, but I kind of turned them to the side so that they wouldn't shine directly on here. And so I got rid of the reflections by doing that.
I think it's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. And it's interesting that there's more orange in this bubble, maybe
Yeah.
because of the lights you were using. Were you using LED lights or flashes?
Well, I was using LED lights. Yeah.
Uh-huh. And it could be that you were more on the amber tone. And because there's a lot of orange in this, which is really pretty.
And if I did, I sent you one photo, but the colors changed.
Yes.
I have a whole series of them, and they went from all different colors,
Uh-huh.
and from one to the next
Yeah.
next, they all changed.
Yeah.
But I liked this one the best because it had the most variety of colors in it.
Mm-hmm. It's very pretty. Really, really. And as a standalone picture, it's a really beautiful picture.
I think it would be hard to figure out exactly what it is if you didn't know.
Exactly.
It looks like a
Exactly.
piece of cloth, kind of. to
Uh-huh.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It looks like those end papers, the Venetian end papers, that the paper makers make.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it's just got great colors to it. But it's interesting how your color palette is so different from Marty's color palette. Yeah.
Because mine wasn't picking up anything from the room. It was
Uh-huh.
just picking up, the light and then whatever the soap had in it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
what that is.
Yeah. I love it. Very good. Any questions for anybody on this one? And then here's your oil.
And I put my iPad down underneath. I have a sort of a little acrylic table. It's not really a table. It's just a little stand, but I put my plate on that, and then I put my iPad under there, and I pulled up a picture. So I got some sort of muted colors. And the glass, like I said, all of my pie plates had Pyrex written all over them. So I found a little glass dish, but you can see some imperfections in the glass with this too.
Uh-huh.
And I thought that kind of added something to the photo a little bit
Uh-huh.
over there.
Uh-huh.
The side and over on
Yeah.
the right-hand side, there's
Mhm,
some ripples in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but once again, as a photograph, I think it's got a lot of it can stand alone, and I love how it goes from that orange all the way to the gray on the other end of it.
The side, yeah.
Yeah, got a nice color palette to it.
Mm.
And as you said with the bubble, if you didn't know what it was, it would be very difficult to figure it out.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
It does look like planets, doesn't it?
It does. It does look like planets. Very good. Very good. Well, you all did an outstanding job. I am super, super happy with what you all did because it definitely looks great. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing for just a second and get rid of this. Go and then bring up my slideshow. There you go.
Can I ask a question
Yes.
about flat to the plane? I know we've practiced it flat on, facing it. What if you're like down on top of it? Is that considered flat? If you're
Flat to
straight down on top?
the film plane.
Mhm.
Flat to the film plane is all relative to the back of the camera. So if this is the camera, if the camera tilts like this, then flat to the film plane is like that. If the camera's like this, then flat to the film plane.
Okay,
is
so
like
that
that.
is still considered.
Mhm. It's
Okay.
all relative to whatever the camera is doing. Yeah. So there you go. So your homework assignment was to photograph the water dropping into the pool, to do the bubbles, the incense smoke, all those other little things. So anything else that we didn't talk about, lessons learned? No. Just hope it's worth doing again. Hope it's worth pulling this out one more time, trying it some more.
Yeah.
Getting some inspiration. Yeah.
It was quite comical. Things would fall and
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. I know it.
Yeah.
Things
it
would
was
fall.
really comical.
Yeah. And when I do these, then I'm digging through the cabinets looking for that right piece of whatever, or digging through the garage looking, you're just constantly looking for some sort of tool that'll
Yep.
fix your problem. And then you finally get it. So it's well worth it. Anything
Yeah.
else on that homework?
The hardware store
Susan?
is your friend.
The hardware store's your friend. I know. Sometimes I feel that when I'm walking through Michael's with this odd assortment of stuff that I sort of want the clerk to say, "What are you doing?" or Home Depot, "What are you doing? Why do you need this assortment of tools?" Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. Well, I hope you all had fun with that, and I think you all did. This was a previous student's bubble. And I have yet to figure out how she got a warp in her bubble. It doesn't make any sense. And I have no idea how she got it. And she doesn't either. She just said when she blew the bubble, but she blew the bubble inside a glass container. So I think it's a reflection of the bubble along the glass edge. But it just turns the bubble on its head. Turns it into a straight line instead of a round. Yeah. So very pretty. And then here's another bubble. But there was this one little bright area. And so the photographer decided to concentrate on that one little bright area. Isn't that interesting?
It is.
So sort of those, not what was assigned, but the happy mistake. And that's what we're looking for, is that happy mistake, happy error or happy encounter. But I think it's gorgeous. I really like it. Because once again, you don't know what it is. So a lot of fun. So it doesn't have to be just the curve like I showed you. It can be different things as well. Okay, so lesson 4. I wanted to show you all that you can stack living subjects as well as you can stack macro subjects. So this can work on any subject that you're working on. So I'm using here 6 point, so my depth of field is 7 3/32 of an inch, whatever that is. So I'm using my 100 to 500 millimeter lens, or excuse me, I'm using 500 millimeter lens with a 1.4x extender, and I'm at f11. And so that would be kind of your standard, you know, there you go. But if moving around, Lynette, there you go. If I start focusing further back, so I just start manually moving my focus further back, then I can do a focus stack. And I want you to see between this one and this one. In this one, the little head didn't quite work on the Sanderling. So here it is after I fixed it. And all I did was I went over to the correct photo for the right head and then stacked and then pasted it in there. So there's a detail of it. So you can focus stack on living creatures as well. So just like you could do a panorama, you can focus stack on living creatures, but you might have to do a little fixing in there. And luckily the Sanderlings were staying pretty still. So that focus stacking comes in really handy. So I just focused all the way through. And then on the digital camera, you can just set it to focus stack, and then it would take one really fast. So that focus stacking can come in handy.
Did you
And then-
focus stack manually, or can you use autofocus and just take it in different parts of the picture?
Here, I just focused on various birds.
Oh.
So I think this is where I show you. So here's the front Sanderling. Yeah, there's some back Sanderlings. No, I didn't show you each piece, but I just focused on various little Sanderlings while I was doing this. Now, those of you using mirrorless, this means you could hold the camera steady on the door frame of the car, and you could use your finger to focus on the various Sanderlings and take your picture, or you could just set the camera to focus stack. But this is another one where they're all focus stacked. And I think this is non-focus stacked. So that's F11, and that's how much your background's going to be blown out of focus. But then when we focus stack it, we get all the Sanderlings showing up. So you can do this on roosting birds. And then another thing that's fun to play with your smoke. So now you know that I've heavily processed this. And then the background is a long way away so that I don't get much showing up. There's a thing that you can do on this smoke to turn it into this.
Pretty.
And here's another one. And then I can turn it into this. And the way that you do this, here's one, and then we turn it in. So the way that we do this is you open it in Photoshop and you open curves. So you can do curves also in Adobe Camera Raw or Lightroom. You can do the same thing. You're moving around, Lynette. There you go. Sorry. And then, so in curves, I'm going to take the left corner and I'm going to raise it to the white, and I'm going to take the right corner and I'm going to lower it to the black. So I'm going to invert it. I'm just going to take one side and move it straight up, and the other side and move it straight down. I'm going to invert it. So I go from blue and white to orange and black in this photograph. So it's just a simple curves, and you just invert your curves. You just move the left side up and move the right side down. And so that's just something fun that you can do with that smoke. Changes it around completely. So here's one in this way, and then flip them, and it's going to make the background white and the smoke black. And there you go. So it's just a simple inverting of the curves that makes it fun to play with. Questions on that?
I like that.
Yeah, it's an interesting little technique, isn't it? Doesn't take much. So that's fun. Okay, now here's your questions on your flash. Okay, so here's your questions on your flash. So we're going to use either the manual mode in the camera, aperture priority mode, or shutter priority mode, whichever one you want to use. In Nikon, you have to move the flash controller to rear or slow when you're in aperture priority. And in Nikon, you probably want to go ahead and just make that change anyway. Marty, are you Sony?
No, I'm Nikon.
You're Nikon. Okay, you want to make that change permanently. So
Where
in
do I
Nikon,
change it? In the camera?
in the camera. So, on the back display panel,
Uh-huh,
you go to your flash controller, the
uh-huh.
lightning bolt, and you move it to rear or slow.
Kathy, I'm
Yeah.
using Sony.
You're using Sony. So Sony, you do the same thing, Susan and Sony.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anybody except Canon,
Why is that?
because in aperture priority, Sony, Nikon, everybody else says if you're in aperture priority, the flash is going to be dominant, and you don't want the flash to ever be dominant. You want the flash to be subordinate. So a flash in ETTNL or TTNL, ETTNL's Canon, TTNL's everybody else. A flash in ETTNL or TTNL says, okay, I'm subordinate to the camera. I'm going to send light to the focus point. So the camera sends the focus point distance to the flash. The flash says, I'm going to send light to the focus point, and I'm going to send enough light based on the light meter. And so you want the flash to be in TTNL or ETTNL. And Marty, that Godox will do both of them, or it'll do TTNL.
Yeah, it will.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the one that's not flat. They couldn't get it to fire. They did get it in manual, but it would not fire in this. And I wonder if it's that rear, the controller to rear.
It could be the rear, or if the flash won't fire in ETTNL, then there's something wrong with the flash. I'd try a new flash. Yeah. Or try one out of the box and see if that's the way it's supposed to work. But everybody needs to set, anybody who's not a Canon, move your flash controller to rear or slow rear, whichever one it wants. Set your flash to ETTNL, and then on the back of the flash, I'll tell you what all those little numbers mean on the back of the flash. This is a Canon flash, but it's going to work exactly the same for everybody else. So ETTNL means that the flash is being told, send light to the focus point and only send enough light based on the light meter. So that's what ETTNL is saying. It's really smart. It's absolutely brilliant. Next to the word zoom, there needs to be an A and not an M. And if there's an A or no letter, then that means when you zoom, the flash knows you're zooming. If there's an M, then that means your flash is not following your zoom. So if you zoom, the flash doesn't know that you zoomed. And then here you see that I'm zoomed out to 80 millimeters. In some of your flashes, this will only go to 105. It won't go any further than that. That's okay. Some of your flashes, it goes all the way to 500. It just depends on the model and make of the flash.
What if
And
it's a lens that doesn't zoom? Will it just still have the M?
No, if the lens doesn't zoom, it'll have whatever millimeters that lens is. So if that's 105, it'll have 105. If it's a 50, it'll have 50. Okay. So it doesn't matter.
You don't leave it set at anything particular.
No, you want it automatic.
Okay.
Yeah. You just want it to read that lens, because that means it's communicating with the lens and getting the information from the lens. And then here's the second line on this is whether we're dialing the flash up or dialing the flash down. most of the time in a Canon flash or a Nikon flash, we're going to want to shoot it at about 2/3 of a stop underexposed. And, you know, because otherwise it's going to be a little bit too powerful. And then this little scale right here, this 4 meters to 18 meters, you can change that to feet if you don't know meters. And I finally changed mine to feet because I don't know meters. So this is simply saying that this flash is shooting light between 4 meters and 18 meters. And you see where the little line starts? See the little solid line there? So that means up to 4 meters to almost 18 meters, there is not going to be any flash. So if you're, and then the f-stop is 4.5. So that's all the information that's showing on the back of my flash. If you notice, there's a lot of information it's picking up from the camera and the lens. That's exactly what you want an ETTNL flash to do. Now, for macro photography, if my subject is 6 meters away from the camera, which would be 18 feet, that's a heck of a long way away, you know. But this flash, the way it's set right now, is not going to shoot any light from 4 meters to nearly 18 meters. So the way that this flash is set right now, that's telling me that I'm probably focused on something fairly significantly far away. And you could change this f-stop to get this scale to go back. So that's what the scale is. And some of your flashes have the scale on them and some of your flashes don't have the scale on them. It just depends on the flash. So that's what the little scale means. And that's where it comes into macro photography, because if we're doing something that's fairly close, then we might need to change our focus point to get that scale to go down to where that flash is firing really close. So that's what all those little numbers mean on the back of the flash. So I shoot all of my flashes on ETTNL. I make sure that the zoom is always on auto, so it's following the lens, whether the lens has a zoom or not. And then I want to make sure that the flash is firing based on the zoom of my lens or what lens I'm using. And then you should be seeing something that tells you what f-stop you're also using. And then otherwise, that is one smart flash. You don't have to tell it to do anything. So that's what you want. Now, all these other buttons down in here, you could set this flash to the point where it would probably make your coffee in the morning.
Yeah.
But we don't need a flash to make our coffee in the morning. We've got a coffee maker for that. We need our flash to fire light where I want it to fire the light. And so that's where we need to play with the flash. Now, also something on your flash. In the front of the flash, there's a little plastic plate that comes out of the front of the flash and goes down in front of the flash. People think that that's a diffuser, and it's not. It is a little scatterer thing to make the flash fire close to you. So when it hits it, it splatters the light close. So that little plastic panel needs to be inside the flash and pushed all the way in. We had one time with Nikon where I had to call Nikon Professional Services because we could not figure out how to get rid of the M next to the word zoom. And it was because the little plastic panel wasn't pushed all the way in. So sometimes it's little geeky things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, if you tilt that flash up or you click it all the way down, then it also will not show up as an auto zoom either. So try all those little things, Marty.
Okay.
And see if that works. And then off-camera flashes, you heard from Lynette that she used the cord. Anybody else play with the cord, the off-camera flash this time? No? Okay. And then we've got flash transmitters, of course. Christina, you had the transmitter, didn't you?
Yeah, but I didn't use it this week.
Yeah, that transmitter is a really nice thing to have too. And once again, it doesn't cost very much. It's just a nice gadget so we don't have to use cords. So your flash can also be a slave unit. And once again, Nikon calls it commander, everybody else calls it master, and then slaves. And certain flashes can only be slaves, and certain flashes can be masters and slaves. So a master fires the other flashes, slaves are the ones that get fired. So depending on what kind of flash you have will determine that. And this little lightning bolt thing right here is what does it on a Canon flash. So we go from master to commander. So that's if you want to fire multiple flashes. So just firing the flash, this is using the flash outside, because on this Buckeye butterfly, if I don't use a flash, the little purple reflective cells in the eyes of the Buckeye don't show up. The eyes of the Buckeye show up as totally dark if I don't use a flash on them. The little reflective cells in the inside of the eyes is what the other Buckeye butterflies see. So if we don't use a flash on a Buckeye butterfly, then we don't get to see those little reflective cells. So there's a lot of butterflies where we do have to use flashes to get all the colors coming out of them. Same thing on hummingbirds. So using a flash here coming in from the side to light up the interior of the pitaya cactus. Using a window on one side and a flash on the other side to light up the interior of a tulip. And then here using the flash on the red-eyed tree frog in Costa Rica to get it to not only stop the action, but also to get it to light it up so that we get some light coming in. So this is just one flash. So we use a flash a lot. And then we talked about the LED lights as well to add the existing light. And then here's a little bracket that the Wimberley company make to put your flash. Let me see, you hook the camera up here and then the flash goes right here on the little stand that the flash has that came in the bag. So that was one of the Wimberley brackets that I showed you. So we can move the camera off flash if you don't want to use a cord for that. So different things you can do for off-camera flash. Now,
Can I ask you a question
Yeah.
about the frog picture?
Yes, go ahead.
He looks nice and bright and all that. What power do you have your flash on? Do you change
I
it
don't-
when you're
no.
shooting at an animal?
No, I don't move the power on the flash at all.
Just
No.
2/3.
Yep, about 2/3 of a stop underexposed, because otherwise it gets a little too bright.
Yeah. So, okay.
Yeah. So you practice with it and then you find that, okay, this one needs to be fired at a little bit underexposed. And I just bought a new one from Canon, and yeah, it needs to be fired at about 1/7 of a stop underexposed, 2/3 of a stop underexposed. So you just leave it there.
Okay.
Yeah. Now the camera's metering, this is a good one on the frog. The camera's metering on the background. So the camera's metering on the scene. And then the flash is just going out and hitting the frog because that's where I've focused. So the flash isn't told to go out and light up the whole forest. It's just told to light up the frog because that's where I focused.
Because that's TTL.
That's TTL, exactly. So you see, it's pretty smart. And then multiple flashes is where we get into freezing action. So we freeze action like on this hummingbird. So this is 6 flashes, 1 master and 1 master and 5 on the side. So we've got 4 on the side and 1 on the background. So if you think about it, what's happening is we've got 1 flash hitting the artificial background, 2 flashes, 2 on the top, 2 on the side, and 1 flash in the front. So I've got 6 flashes going on here. And then you set your shutter speed to say 200th of a second shutter speed, f11. And then when the flashes fire, that should, first of all, 250th of a second and f11 should give you a solid black background, a solid black photograph without the flashes. So you want a solid black little cube of air that the camera is going to photograph. Turn the flashes on, and then when they hit from all the different sides and the background, we've lit up that little cube with the multiple flashes. And because we're using a 250th of a second and the flashes are going off so fast, that's what freezes the background. that freezes the action. So it's not the shutter speed that freezes the action, it's the multiple flashes going off that freezes the action. So the same thing with your water drops. If we use the one flash on one side and another flash on the other side, or you all just used one flash on yours and one flash on the background. So I've got flash coming in from the side, flash hitting the background and reflecting light. And if I make sure that we're photographing a black frame, then when the flashes go off, they light everything up, and that's what freezes all the action. So you set the f-stop and the shutter speed to give you a solid black photograph if you don't use the flash. And then when you do use the flash, those flashes going off so fast freeze the action. So that's what we can't do with the LED screens or LED panels, but we can do with multiple flashes. And once again, we can do this with old 1992 flashes. Nothing says we have to have the most modern equipment. So I have a box full of old flashes that I buy on eBay. So as long as they're all ETT&L flashes and they're all can be slave units, then I can use as many of these as I want. My newest setup is little teeny flashes because Nikon and Canon make these tiny little flashes. And I think probably Godox does too. And they cost like $100 each, but they're slaves. So they can be a flash, but then they can also be slaves. And so I bought a whole bunch of those that fit in a little bitty box as opposed to my old box of big flashes. And they're much easier to set up because they're so tiny. So you can freeze these water drops a whole lot better when you're using these multiple flashes. Same thing here with bubbles, and I'm just blowing bubbles in front of a black background. And I've set it so that without the flashes, it's a solid black photograph, 60th of a second, f11 or something like that. Set the flashes up. This is 2 flashes on either side, no flash on the background. And now when I fire the flashes, it's freezing the bubbles as they go across. And then this is multiple flashes out in the field. So these are our leafcutter ants down in Costa Rica. One flash in the front, pull another flash out of somebody else's bag that's maybe, in my case, got another Canon flash, turn it to slave, turn my flash to master. And now we can set one flash off to the side, coming in from the side, one flash going in front. And now I don't have to worry about shutter speed because the flashes are going to stop the action. So without the flashes, set it to 60th of a second, f11, f13, anything that gives me a solid black photograph. And then turn the flashes on. And now when the flash, the master and the slave go off, then I'm freezing the action completely. So it's once you learn how to set it up, it's a fairly easy setup to do. You just got to have the equipment. Leafcutter ants, by the way, in Costa Rica, the guys that are on top of the leaf right here, they have already gone all the way to the top of the tree and either cut a leaf or dropped a leaf off in the nest. And they're hitching a ride back because they've already done their job. So they get a ride back, and now they can, somebody else, when they go up to the top of the tree, they'll give them another ride somewhere along the way. So it's not like they're loafing. It's just that they've already done their job and they get a ride back. They're hitching a ride back. The biology of it's amazing. So fun. So once again, think about your backgrounds and what backgrounds we're using in this macro photography. Same butterfly. The only difference is that the one on the left, I'm standing on the ground. The one on the right, I'm standing up on a little bench. So it's just the simple elevation of 3 feet. So think about what that background is and what that background's going to look like in your photograph. And then as we start adding artificial backgrounds, we've talked about that already, make sure that that artificial background adds something to your photograph instead of takes it away. In this case, it's really not adding anything to the photograph. But if I do it as a black background or a dark green background, then it starts adding to the photograph. These are just a couple more of the wildflowers that I picked and brought inside. It wasn't until I brought the wildflowers inside that I realized there was one of these crab spiders in there. Then that's when I started photographing. And when he came out, yeah. But then that's just a couple more blooms in the background. And then here's the black background, and I need to do a little bit of post-processing to tone that little spider down. So you could use the flowers out of the rest of the bouquet. So this is the gladiola, but then I just use some of the gladiolas as a background. So just put them back in the background. Doesn't matter what they're doing back there, just put them back there. And, you know, just make sure they're far enough away. And then here's the black background again. So it all depends on which one of the, you know, how you want your photograph to look. But then when we start adding artificial backgrounds, we got to make sure that we've got a color palette that's matching. We've talked about the color wheel in here. And this is a pink tulip. And I photographed this against the back door, the glass in the back door. So the light coming through the tulip is coming through the back door, the glass back door. But I didn't look right with just the light through the window. So this is the cellophane wrapper off of Scott's toilet paper. So I went looking through the house for, remember when you were a kid and you got some cellophane and you wet it and you stuck it on the window and it stays there? Okay. Have you done that, Lexi? Oh, you have to do it. It's cool. Okay. So I went and I found something that was the right color, and it just happened to be the cellophane off of Scott's toilet paper. So that's the logo for Scott's toilet paper and stuck to the window. And then here is the logo for Bounty paper towels. Same thing, just off of a cellophane wrapper, you know, and then wet it, stuck it to the window. So then I can just work on my flower and I don't have to worry about it. So think about those artificial backgrounds. So, you know, on your handout, I've given you ideas. I showed you all this one before when we first started. This background right here is when I take a blurry photograph by accident, or sometimes I do it on purpose. I just save these as backgrounds. I just label them as backgrounds. And then in this case, I just needed a quick background. So I printed it off of my home printer, no photo paper, no nothing, no glossy, nothing, just print it. And so, oh yeah, Lynette, the hawks are playing around in your backyard. Yeah.
Yes.
So you can use any type of backgrounds like this. It doesn't have to be anything in particular, either that or the Blue Jays, Lynette, imitating the Hawks. Yep. And then something you can also do is you can do parchment paper, once again, out of the kitchen, parchment paper, and you can paint it with diluted food coloring. So if you find that you want to make a certain type of background, you can use parchment paper and paint it with diluted food coloring. And the more you get it wet, the more it's going to dilute the color. And then your iPad, Susan, you showed that where you used your iPad with a pattern on it. So we can use all different kinds of things for backgrounds. So here's that Prometheus moth cocoon with the background that I printed off for it. And if that's not the right background, then I could have gone and printed off another color background and used that. No great loss. You're just printing these things on your home printer. And then here's where we start playing with backgrounds. So this is from Hobby Lobby. And Susan and Lynette, you all used this when we were doing that class at Precision Camera. So this is just a sparkly piece of paper from Hobby Lobby. And I put it underneath, or excuse me, around this one. This is little teeny glass balls on a mirror. And then the background is just folded around so that it's reflecting different colors on the mirror. The mirrors, once again, from Michaels or Hobby Lobby, these are $1 a piece, used in place settings. And so I just bought a couple of them and now they're in my macro bag.
Is that the size of a plate?
Yeah, it's about the size of a plate. Yeah. So
You put all the things on the mirror?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes. Yes. So you just put it on the mirror, and then this little background thing, it's just held over it until the colors are reflecting in the mirror.
Hmm.
So more of that high tech photography, you know. But then the more you move your background around, the different ways that the colors show up. And then this is just the reflection of the window in the mirror with the, and you can see the LED light off to the side. And then here's that little reflective piece of paper again. So the more you move it around, the more little colors you get, the more little sparkles you get. It's up to you to decide where you want the final sparkles to end up. Just changing as I move the paper around. So you can play a lot. Questions on those and working with mirrors?
Did you order those little glass balls? Are they like the crystal balls?
You know, Marty, you're a physical therapist, right?
Occupational.
Occupational therapist. They are those little bitty gel things that that float in, that expand in water.
Oh, okay. Water beads.
Yeah, water beads. Yeah. And then I got them and I thought, oh my gosh, these things need to be banned from the face of the earth, because once people are finished with them, they're going to flush them down the toilet and they're going to go out in the water system. I mean, these things
I
just,
heard that they're
yeah.
good to put in your potted plants, like outside.
oh, because they'll
that when
absorb
you
the water.
they will provide a water source. I thought
Yeah.
that was kind of creative.
That's creative, but then they're going to end up in the water supply somewhere along the way. So I hated them. Once I found them and thought how cool they were, then it was like, oh no, these are dangerous. Yeah.
Keep them away from kids.
Oh, keep them away from kids.
They're very dangerous if they
Yeah.
use them.
Ooh,
Yeah.
I could imagine.
Yeah, because if they swallow them, yeah. Yeah, I just think they need to be banned. Yeah, because you know they're used in flower displays, and then if you think about it, when those flowers have all rotted, they're just going to throw those little things out, and so yeah, they're creepy now that I know what they are. They were fun to play with, but they're definitely creepy now that I know what they are.
But
So
they do have little glass marbles like
They
that.
do. They
You can
do.
use
Yeah.
those, yeah.
Yeah, so you could use marbles for this just as well. And then those are okay. We have to keep those away from little kids too. Christina knows all the things we have to keep away from little kids. All the stuff we want to play with. And then think about your layout when you're doing macro photography. You know, it's a vertical, it's a horizontal. Think about moving that camera around from vertical to horizontal. So it's one picture as a vertical, it's another picture as a horizontal. Think about moving that camera around from vertical to horizontal, because each one of them gives us a different layout. So it's a horizontal, but then if we roll it around, then it's a vertical. So think about that layout and how we're going to do that layout. And remember, in macro photography, it does not just have to be goofy, silly subjects. It can also be things like rotted machinery, or it can be pieces of machinery. I have a friend who's written a book called Rust, Photographing Rust, I think is what she calls it, because she just has a fascination with junkyards. And so she photographs all her macro stuff in junkyards. So it doesn't just have to be the macro subjects or the things that we've been talking about. It can also be all kinds of really cool machinery or man-made stuff as well. And then you take these skills, and then when you see something in nature, then you've got those skills ready to go. And that's the key thing to doing these exercises is once you acquire these skills, then we can put them into place when we need to. So, you know, focus stacking. Yeah. So this is a focus stack also. So this is what's called an animal bridge. And they're building them throughout the world where they're putting in roadways, and they don't want animals to go across the roadway. So this is in Costa Rica. So when they built the new highway, they put in these animal bridges, and they put them in about every mile. And below is a net so that the jaguars or the larger animals can crawl across it, but the monkeys have learned to go up on top like that. And this is a focus stack because when the monkey was running across, I just held the camera steady and fired like crazy. And this is the same monkey running across. So when I did the focus stack
Oh.
on it, it just went in and found the monkeys. So this is the exact same monkey, but it looks like 3 monkeys are going across.
Hmm.
So those focus stacks come into a lot of use. So think about that. And then trips coming up, before we get to questions and answers, trips coming up, Danube Delta in Romania for migratory birds this May. That still has some openings. Florence and Tuscany. Sarah and her husband Rich are going on that one. Greece to Istanbul is full. The itinerary for the Costa Rica southern trip just got posted from Strabo Tours, and we're going to the south of Costa Rica. And then there's an African safari in May, Tanzania, and then the Pantanal for the jaguars in July. And then lots of upcoming classes. I'll put more on my schedule in the coming weeks. Butterfly, dragonfly photography, by the way, out on the Katy Prairie will come up this summer, as well as a night photography out on the Katy Prairie. So I'm going to start teaching some classes through the Katy Prairie Conservancy and going out on those properties out there. And then hummingbirds in the spring, in the fall when we get through migration. And then you all have all my contact information on your handout. So if you ever want it, you all know, everybody here knows how to get in touch with me. Okay. Questions about macro photography that we haven't covered? You all made it.
You made it.
Gold star on your forehead. Questions?
Kathy,
Yes.
It was fun.
do you go to Norway every year or every other year?
I probably go about every other year.
Every
Yeah.
other year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. If you're interested, I'll ask Jackie to put it on the calendar again
Okay.
for
I
Northern
would
Lights.
love to go there with you.
Yeah. It's a good trip. It's a real good trip. Easy trip.
Just so
too.
far.
Yes. It is so far. Yes, it
How
is.
cold is it in September when you're there?
It's not bad. It's long johns, one layer of a fleece vest, and then your down coat. So it gets down into like the 40s during the day and the 20s at night. So it's not as cold
Oh.
as it could be. Yeah, it's manageable.
Okay.
Same thing as Alaska. Other questions about macro or anything else? No, it has been a pleasure having you all. Thank you very much. Share your pictures with me anytime, of course. Susan and Lexi, I still have you all for another 2 weeks in flower photography. Yeah.
Oh, that's fun.
Uh-huh. We're
Yeah.
doing the flower photography. And then, if you've got any questions about equipment, especially as you start working with your flashes, send me an email and then I'll try to answer your question. Marty, if you can't get it to work,
Go shopping.
go shopping. Yes, yes, exactly.
Yeah,
Okay,
this
guys.
This class has cost me a fortune in little gadgets, I tell you.
I know it.
Every day, I need that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Order it on Amazon and it arrives on Amazon.
I
Yeah,
know.
Yep. I know. I've got equipment arriving today. It's crazy. There's always something arriving. Yeah.
Always.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
very
you all
much.
very much. I
Thank
enjoyed
you.
having you for the
Bye.
last 4 weeks. It was good working with you all and can't wait to see you all again. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Good night, everybody, or goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye. Have a good
And
week.
remember, I'll post the recording tomorrow. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.